I know you try to hide it, but the pain is still there. You smile for others, but deep inside there's a heavy silence, an emptiness that has no name. And no matter how much life goes on, no matter how many people say, just move on, something inside you keeps crying out for answers. Today, I want you to listen to me. Calmly. Because I know that cry. And I am here to hold all the pain the world never saw. Do you remember that last conversation? Those words that cut like knives? You replay that moment over and over in your mind, trying to figure out what went wrong, trying to find where things started to fall apart. But let me tell you, you are not alone in this pain. I was there. I saw it. I felt it with you. I saw when you waited for a hug and got silence instead. When you set the table with care but no one came. When you tried to talk, but your words were ignored or misunderstood. I saw the tears you hid so no one would worry. And every single one of them, I collected like treasure, because each one carries the love you still feel for the person who turned their back on you. Today I want to invite you to do something simple, but powerful. Say a name before me. That name that weighs on you. That name that hurts just to remember. Maybe it's someone in your home, a relative, a child, a spouse, that person you love but who has also left wounds, frustrations, broken expectations. Whisper that name, or just think it quietly if you prefer. I've already heard it. Now let me enter that relationship. Let me reach that person with the same patience I've shown to you. Because what you can't express, I can translate into love. I know the behind the scenes of this story. I know what was said to you in your weakest moments. I know what you hoped for and didn't receive. I know the promises that weren't kept, the actions that hurt, the coldness that pierced more than any word. And even so, I still say, there's room to rebuild. You don't have to pretend you're fine. I never asked you to hide your pain. On the contrary, bring it all. No filters, no shame, no rush. You can pour out everything right now, just as it comes. Because no prayer is ugly when it comes from a true heart. Maybe your heart is tired of trying to fix things, of pushing, of praying and seeing no change. But what you don't see is that I often work in silence. While you wait, I prepare. While you pray, I move hearts. While you cry, I gather every tear and turn them into living promises. There's a right time for everything, and I know waiting is hard. But reconciliation isn't built in haste. It's built on love that endures, even when everything seems to be against it. And that love, I see it in you. Even with the hurt, even with painful memories, you still wish them well, and that is already the beginning of healing. You've thought about giving up, I know. You've told yourself maybe it's better to let go. But I'm asking you, let me try once more. Let me be the bridge between wounded hearts. Let me be the answer you've been searching for, because what's been broken, I can restore. What's been wounded, I can heal. What's been forgotten, I can reignite. I am the one who turns absence into reunion and silence into sincere embrace. Today, as you listen to me, I'm already visiting the heart you placed before me. Maybe you won't see anything immediately, but something is already being touched. A thought, a memory, a longing. These are the seeds of reconciliation I'm planting right now, and in the right time they will bloom. Do you know that feeling of talking to a wall, of trying to explain and being cut off halfway, of opening your heart only to realize the other person wasn't really listening? Those moments you carry within, I saw them too, and even if it seems like it was all for nothing, I'm telling you now, no effort to love is ever in vain. Loving someone who doesn't love you back doesn't make you smaller. Quite the opposite. It reveals the greatness of a heart that, even wounded, chose not to grow cold. And if loving has been hurting more than it should, I want to care for your wounds while I work in the life of the one who walked away. Some stories don't fade with time. Some voices, even silenced, still echo inside us. You may have tried to move on, to stay busy, to focus on other things, but something inside still longs for healing. And healing isn't forgetting. It's remembering without pain. I see how much you've done, how you tried to speak calmly, sought understanding, forgave before being forgiven. You stayed quiet when you could have shouted. You swallowed your pride just to keep the peace, and even so, you were treated like none of it mattered. But today, I honor you for that. You may not have received human recognition, but my eyes have never looked away from you. Nothing you did went unnoticed. And now, the time has come for me to show you that every sincere act of love always comes back. Maybe not through the same person, but it always returns. Have you ever wondered why some wounds hurt more than others? Because they were caused by people you never thought would hurt you. The pain caused by strangers fades quickly, but pain from inside the home, that takes longer because it cuts to the root. And that's where I'm placing my hand right now. Today, I want to give you a different kind of rest. Not the kind where you sleep to forget, but the kind where you trust. Trust that even when everything looks still, there's an invisible movement happening. Maybe the other person isn't ready yet, but you are. And that's the first miracle. When I touch a heart, I don't use force. I use memories. I use longing. I use that sudden desire to return to a place where there was once peace. And that's what I'm beginning to do now, the right way, in the right time. You might not hear anything today. No message, no phone call, no apology. But keep going. Keep praying, not because I need convincing, but because you need sustaining. Prayer is not just a request. It's the place where I heal what's inside you first. And once you're healed inside, everything around you begins to change. If there's a son who left home and forgot you, I'm going after him. If there's a daughter who no longer wants to hear your name, I'm softening her resistance. If there's a spouse who chose pride over dialogue, I'm breaking down that wall, even if slowly. And all of this without you having to force anything. What I'm doing isn't manipulation, it's redemption. There are things you really wanted to say but never had the chance, and others you said and later regretted. Don't blame yourself too much. Human relationships are full of imperfections, but when you let me in, I rebuild bridges from the ruins. I write new chapters where you thought there was a full stop. Maybe someone told you it's no use anymore. That person will never come back. That they've moved on. But let me ask you, who said the impossible is a limit? With me, the impossible is simply an invitation to faith. And the faith you're showing right now is being seen in heaven. I know all you've ever wanted is a fresh start. An honest conversation. A gesture that says, I'm sorry. And that desire is not small. It's noble. You want to make things right. To restore. To embrace again without fear. And I rejoice to see your heart is still willing to love. Keep believing even if everything says otherwise. Keep waiting. Not because you're weak, but because there is strength in waiting. Keep trusting, because I'm a specialist in turning stories around. And this story you thought was already lost will surprise even those who turned their backs. There are things that only you and I know. Things you've been carrying since that very first argument. Words spoken in anger, but still echoing inside you as if they'd been said just yesterday. I know how much you wish you could go back and do it all differently, but now I want you to look ahead, because that's where the miracle I prepared is waiting. The past doesn't need to be erased for something new to begin. In fact, it's because of what you've lived through that reconciliation can be even more beautiful. Because when someone forgives without forgetting, they love with more awareness. And today I want to teach you how to love without carrying guilt. Did you make mistakes? Perhaps. But you also tried. You gave of yourself. You believed until the end. Don't punish yourself for what was beyond your control. Sometimes the other person's heart simply shuts down, and no matter how much you give, there's no response. But let me tell you, a heart can close itself, off to the entire world, but not to me. That's where I come in the impossible, the unreachable, the invisible. You don't need to keep blaming yourself for loving too much, or for trying harder than you should have. Love is never wasted. Even when the other person walks away, what you gave in love is never lost. It's stored in me, and in the right time, I return it as grace. Now I want to speak about forgiveness. Not the forgiveness others asked of you, but the one you haven't yet been able to give. Maybe you think forgiving means pretending nothing happened, but it's not that. Forgiveness is freeing someone from emotional captivity and freeing yourself from the pain that keeps you tied to the past. I know it's not easy. Some wounds go too deep. But if you allow me, I will walk with you through this process. There's no need to rush, no need to look strong. You only need to be honest with me. Say, Lord, I want to forgive, but I can't do it alone. That's already a beginning. Forgiveness isn't a feeling that comes ready-made. It's a decision made daily until the wound finally heals. And when you realize it, the pain is gone, and only peace remains. And that's the peace I want to pour over your home today. Because where there is forgiveness, there is space for new beginnings. Sometimes, what's stopping you from moving on is pride. Not your own, but theirs. You waited for a message, for an apology, and nothing came. It's as if they don't even realize how much they hurt you. But I ask you, don't build a wall just because someone else built one first. You can be the light in this story. You can be the voice that breaks the silence, the hug that melts the distance, the gesture that begins the reconciliation. And if you're afraid of trying and being rejected again, remember, I'll be with you every step of the way. You're not humiliating yourself. You're showing strength. Because forgiving and seeking peace is never a weakness. It's a sign of courage. There are things you still wish you could hear, words that would give meaning to what you went through. But even if those words never come, I can fill that space with a greater truth. You are worthy, even if others made you feel otherwise. You deserve love, respect, and peace. And I'm here to restore it all. You've been crying alone. But today, you don't need to hide it anymore. I'm by your side now, listening to you carefully, welcoming you without judgment, lifting you with tenderness. There's no pain I can't understand, and no heart I can't heal. Today, I'm beginning something new in your life, a silent but deep movement. While you pray, I'm working behind the scenes, stirring memories, softening hearts, opening paths to reunions that once seemed impossible. And all this because you chose to trust me. You thought your prayers had been in vain. You thought your tears had no value, but every time you knelt, even without words, heaven listened. And now the time has come for your prayers to begin to bloom, not like magic, but like a miracle, built in love and faithfulness. What was said against you does not define who you are. The harsh words, the accusations, the cold looks. I've taken all of it upon my shoulders, and now I give you something in return that weighs nothing. Peace, comfort, hope. Because when I heal you from the inside, no one else can hurt you the same way again. You can still believe in love, in family, in new beginnings. There is still time to see what was lost be restored, and if you don't know where to begin, start by calling on me. Because every true reconciliation begins when I am invited in. Do you remember when everything was simpler? When laughter in the home was louder than any disagreement? When the sound of the key in the door brought relief, not tension? I remember. And even if it feels too far gone to return, let me tell you, nothing is ever too far for me. If there is silence now, I can restore the sound of joy. If there's distance, I can bridge it with an unexpected gesture. If there's coldness, I can warm it with a reunion that softens even the hardest hearts. You don't need to know how it will happen. You just need to let me lead the way. Broken, trust can be rebuilt. Yes, it can, but it doesn't return in haste nor through demands. It's rebuilt with consistency, patient love, and small acts of truth. And that's what I want to begin teaching you today. New beginnings are built differently than the start. You don't need to go back to the beginning. You just need to build a new meeting place, where past mistakes are not walls, but lessons, where painful memories are not weapons, but bridges. Because reconciliation is not pretending nothing happened. It's choosing to love despite knowing exactly what happened. Maybe you've been called weak for wanting to try again. Maybe even those who should have supported you have doubted you. But listen, there is nothing stronger than someone who chooses love despite the pain. Nothing nobler than the one who chooses to build, even with ruin still in sight. And I am with you in this rebuilding. Some people will come back and not know where to begin. They'll sit in front of you, look you in the eyes, and stay silent. But it'll be a different silence. A silence full of the desire to start again. In that moment, take a deep breath. Remember the prayer you said today. And let me be the voice that turns that moment into a milestone of peace. Whether it's a son who walked away, a sibling who cut ties, or a spouse who lost their way, I'm preparing the ground for their return. It may seem unlikely, but I use the unlikely to show my love. Because when everything seems improbable, no one can say it was human effort. And that's exactly where I love to work, where only a miracle can fit. Today you gave me a name, remember? I took that name with care and have already begun to touch that heart. You may not see the fruit just yet, but every tree first grows downward, rooting itself deep. And that's what's happening now. Roots of reconciliation are being laid in the unseen. The first signs might be small, a message after a long silence, a look that's less distant, a comment that seems minor, but shows something has shifted. Don't dismiss the small signs. They're the first steps on a much bigger path. Don't expect perfection. Those who return often bring fear, doubts, uncertainty, just as you carry yours too. So I ask you, welcome them patiently, receive them with gentleness, because true reunion begins with the willingness to accept that you're both still growing. The house where there's reconciliation is a house where I dwell, and where I dwell, pride has no place. In me, pride gives way to humility, guilt gives way to healing, and fear gives way to hope. That family you thought you'd lost, I'm restoring. It perhaps not as it once was, but in an even more beautiful way. Because I don't patch up stories, I write new chapters. And in this new chapter, pain is not the end. It's just the introduction to a deeper, stronger, truer love. You'll see. If someone is still avoiding you, I'm touching their heart, right now. If someone pretends you no longer exist, I'm bringing back the memory of what you once shared. Not to cause pain, but to reignite the desire for reconciliation. Because when I step into a story, even what seemed dead comes to life again, and the love you thought had faded will bloom once more. Keep placing me at the center. Don't place your hope in people, but in me. I am the only one who never fails, and that's why I'm the only one who can sustain true reconciliation. What I offer you today isn't an empty promise. It's the certainty that love can still return to your home, and when it does, you'll remember this prayer. You'll remember the day you thought about giving up, but chose to trust instead. And you'll thank me for helping you stand, even when everything told you to fall. That day is closer than you think. I know, there are wounds no one sees, hurts you've carried long before this crisis even began. Deep down there are old resentments, cursed words you heard in childhood, gestures that left lasting scars. And sometimes what you face today feels like a painful repeat of what you've already lived through. But I tell you now, that cycle can stop with you. You don't have to keep repeating the pain of past generations. You are not what they did to you. You are what I am shaping within you, even with every scar you carry. And if you're willing to forgive and start again, even without understanding everything, that is already enough for me to begin a new story. A story where love triumphs, even if rejection is all you've ever known. You may have grown up hearing that you were never enough. Perhaps you never received the affection you deserved. And now, in your own home, you're trying to give what you never had. It's exhausting, I know. But believe me, every effort made out of love will be honored by me, even if others still fail to see it. You are being healed even as you pray. Without even realizing, something inside you is being transformed. I'm removing the emotional rubble that kept you from dreaming of a restored family. And in place of that rubble, I am planting faith, gentleness, resilience, and discernment. Because before anything can be rebuilt, the ground must first be cleared. Don't be afraid to become someone new. Don't be afraid to be the first to change. Sometimes you wait for the other person to change first. But those who walk with me understand that transformation begins within, not through pressure. You change, and your change becomes an invitation for others to return to. You have the right to want a peaceful home. The desire you carry isn't selfish, it's sacred. Wanting to see your children united, your parents at peace, your marriage restored, that's not an unreachable dream. It's a promise I myself placed in your heart. Your home wasn't built only with bricks and mortar. It was also made of memories, of stories, of moments still alive within its walls. And even if everything feels confusing today, the spiritual atmosphere can be cleansed. All you need to do is give me space, because where I dwell, confusion gives way to clarity, and chaos surrenders to peace. Today, I want to give you a new perspective on what you're facing. Don't only see what's broken. Start to notice what can still be restored. I don't reveal flaws to shame you, but to heal through truth. And truth, when received in humility, can free even the most wounded relationships. Have you noticed how the atmosphere shifts when someone chooses to stay silent instead of reacting in anger? How a simple act, like an unexpected hug or a kind word, can break the cycle of resentment? This is what I'm teaching you, the power of small actions. You don't have to fix everything today. Just do today's good with intention. There will be days when your heart wants to give up, when it feels easier to walk away, to ignore, to stay distant. But on those days, remember the seed you planted in prayer. It is still growing, and even though it hasn't broken through the soil yet, it is alive under my care. Don't let someone else's coldness freeze your faith. Don't let the lack of response stop you from praying. Silence is not the absence of my work. It is part of the process. Often, it is in the silence that I prepare the other person to hear what only I can say. You've done far more than you think, just by choosing not to retaliate, by not slamming the door when you had every reason to, by praying through your tears. These choices build a spiritual foundation that the world doesn't see, but I deeply value. If you have children, I know them by name. If you have grandchildren, I protect them, even when you're not around. If someone in your family has strayed, know this, I pursue them with love. You don't need to convince them. I am the one who reaches even those who try to run from me. Today's prayer carries special weight, because it comes mixed with truth, longing, and surrender. With every word and every silence, you're saying to me, I still believe. And that moves heaven, even if no one else believes with you. I delight in your faith even when it wavers. So now, I stretch out my hand over your home, over every room, every space, every memory that needs restoring. I place angels around your house, guarding, cleansing, strengthening. And where there was pain, I breathe comfort. Where there was fear, I plant security. This story will still surprise you. Not because everything will be perfect, but because my love will be undeniable. You'll realize that even on hard days, something is different. You are different, and that changes everything. Because when you are healed, you stop reacting out of pain and start responding with wisdom. Keep praying. Keep believing. Keep loving, even in silence. Because your faith is not being ignored. It's being answered, in the right time, in the most beautiful way. Now that healing has begun inside you, I want to remind you of a vital truth. What I've started, I will also finish. The restoration of your family is not an empty promise. It's a work in progress, crafted by my loving hands and upheld by my faithfulness. And when I take the lead, even the most broken paths find a way back. Don't let the challenges along the way make you doubt what I've already declared over your home. The enemy will try to whisper that nothing has changed, that it's all in your head. that your effort is wasted. But today I reinforce this in your heart. The word that comes from my mouth never returns empty. It will fulfill everything I've spoken, and the complete restoration of your family is part of that promise. You may not see all the fruit yet. You may still face resistance, hurt, silence. But I invite you to look beyond the visible. True faith sees what the eyes cannot yet grasp. True faith believes because it trusts the one who promised. And I am faithful. Faithful to the end. Faithful to fulfill even the dreams you've buried in your heart. Faithful to turn ashes into new life. Faithful to bring back those who once slammed the door and swore they'd never return. You don't need to explain yourself to others anymore. You don't need to convince anyone of your pain or your love. I've already seen it all. I know your heart, your surrender, your struggle, and it's on that foundation that I'm writing a new chapter. Those who judged you will see with their own eyes the work I am doing in your home. Those who doubted your patience will witness the miracle that only I could perform. Because what is built in silence with faith doesn't need applause to be real. I'm building a home of peace, balance, and truth, not for others to see, but for you to live. What's coming will be different, not a repetition of the past, but a new life, where words are gentler, eyes more sincere, hugs longer. You'll know when it happens. It'll be the day that name that once hurt you comes looking for you, humility in their eyes. And on that day, don't let pride speak louder. Remember every prayer you prayed, every tear you cried. This reunion is an answer, a healing, a chance to do what wasn't possible before, and I'll be there right in the middle, just as I always was, even when everything felt empty. You'll feel peace return to your home. You'll hear laughter that hasn't echoed in years. You'll wake up with lightness in your chest, even if there's still work to be done. Because when I restore with purpose, and my purpose is greater than the pain that came before. You're not here by chance. This prayer didn't come from just a passing thought. It was my spirit who brought you, who led you to this moment, who reminded you that hope still exists, because the same love that created you is now rebuilding everything within you. Nothing was in vain. Now just breathe. Quiet the noise of anxiety for a moment, and let this presence surrounding you now find a home. I'm not just a visitor. I'm your refuge. And as long as you allow me to stay, your home will be a place of ongoing healing. If pain returns, come back and speak to me again. If there's a setback, weakness, exhaustion, I'm still here unchanged. I won't give up on you or on your family. Even if others turn their backs, I remain. I am the one who stays when everyone else leaves. And finally, hold this in your heart. What you thought was lost. What felt too far gone. What made you cry in silence for so many nights. It has already begun its journey back to you. And when it returns, it will be stronger, more beautiful, more real. Because you're not rebuilding this on your own. It is I who am making all things new. Today, through this prayer, something has been born again. And in the right time it will bloom, just as I promised.